All right.
Okay, Maharaj, let me just get back to,
Well,
yep, let me just get back to Zoom and you're all set.
are you ready? Are you ready?
Okay, Maharaj.
Okay. So are we on Bhagavad Gita as it is, and chapter 10 and verse 17? It's- Okay. 18. Okay. So, Hare Krishna, my dear devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are hearing tonight from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 10 and text 18. It's over.
Yes, Maharaj, one second. Yes, Maharaj, go ahead.
Okay, so tonight we're hearing from chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, text 18. And text 18 says, Vistaren Atmano Yogam Vibhutim Cha Janardana Uya Prataya Tripti Chinvato Nasti Me Ritam. O Janardana, again, please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulence. I am never satiated by hearing about you. For the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. Wow, this is a prayer. The devotee never tired hearing about the opulences of the Lord, and he's never satiated in hearing about the Lord. For the more he hears, the more he has taste, the more he has the taste of the nectar of the words of Krishna. Wow, that's a wonderful, wonderful verse. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A similar statement was made by Sutta Goswami by the rishis of Naimisharanya, headed by Shonaka. That statement is, Vayam tu na vitripyama uttama sloka vikrame yachinvatam rasa yanam sadhu sadhu pade pade. And this is a quote. One can never be satiated, even though one continuously hears the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, who is glorified by excellent prayers. Those who have entered into a transcendental relationship with Krishna relish at every step the descriptions of the pastimes of the Lord. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.19. Thus, Arjuna is interested in hearing about Krishna, and specifically how he remains as the all-pervading Supreme Lord. Now, as far as Amritam, nectar, is concerned, any narration or statement concerning Krishna is just like nectar. And this nectar can be perceived by practical experience. Modern stories, fiction, and histories are different from the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, in that one will tire of hearing mundane stories, but one never tires of hearing about Krishna. It is for this reason only that the history of the whole universe is replete with references to the pastimes of the incarnations of Godhead. The Puranas are histories of bygone ages that relate the pastimes of the various incarnations of the Lord. In this way, the reading matter remains forever fresh despite repeated readings. Very nice statement. Text 19. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Hantate Katayisyami Divya Hi Atma Vibhutaya Pradhan Yata Kurushrestha Nasti Anto Vistarasya Me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, yes, I will tell you my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent, O Arjuna, for my opulences are limitless. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is not possible to comprehend the greatness of Krishna and his opulence. The senses of the individual soul are limited and do not permit him to understand the totality of Krishna's affairs. Still, the devotees try to understand Krishna, but not on the principle that they will be able to understand Krishna fully at any specific time or in any state of life. Rather, the very topics of Krishna are so relishable that they appear to the devotees as nectar. Thus, the devotees enjoy them. In discussing Krishna's opulences and his diverse energies, the pure devotees take transcendental pleasure. Therefore, they want to hear and discuss them. Krishna knows that the living entities do not understand the extent of his opulences. He therefore agrees to state only the principal manifestations of his different energies. The word pradhanayata, principle, is very important because we can understand only a few of the principal details of the Supreme Lord, for his features are unlimited. It is not possible to understand them all. And vibhuti, as used in this verse, refers to the opulences by which he controls the whole manifestation. In the Amara Kosha dictionary, it is stated that vibhuti indicates an exceptional opulence. The impersonalist or pantheist cannot understand the exceptional opulences of the Supreme Lord, nor the manifestations of his divine energies, both in the material world and in the spiritual world. His energies are distributed in every variety of manifestation. Now, Krishna is describing what can be directly perceived by the common man. Thus, part of his variegated energy is described in this way. We can't understand everything about Krishna, but we can understand some things about Krishna if they are explained by genuine devotees. Text 20. Aham Atma Kesha Sarvabhutasya Stitaha. I'm sorry. Stita. Aham Adischa Madhyam Cha Bhutanam Anta Eva Cha. I am the super soul, O Arjuna, seated in the hearts of all living entities. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, Arjuna is addressed as Gudakesha, which means one who has conquered the darkness of sleep. For those who are sleeping in the darkness of ignorance, it is not possible to understand how the Supreme personality of Godhead manifests himself in various ways in the material and spiritual worlds. Thus, this address by Krishna to Arjuna is significant because Arjuna is above such darkness. The personality of Godhead agrees to describe his various opulences. Krishna first informs Arjuna that he is the soul of the entire cosmic manifestation by dint of his primary expansion. Before the material creation, the Supreme Lord, by his plenary expansion, accepts the Purusha incarnations, and from him everything begins. Therefore, he is Atma, the soul of the Mahat Tattva, the universal elements. The total material energy is not the cause of the creation. Actually, the Mahavishnu enters into the Mahat Tattva, the total material energy. He is the soul. When Mahavishnu enters into the manifested universes, he again manifests himself as the super soul in each and every entity. We have experienced that the personal body of the living entity exists due to the presence of the spiritual spark. Without the existence of the spiritual spark, the body cannot develop. Similarly, the material manifestation cannot develop unless the Supreme Soul, Krishna, enters. As stated in the Subala Upanishad, Pakrite Adi Sarva Bhutan Antaryami Sarva Sesi Sha Narayana. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is existing in the Supersoul in all manifested universes. The three Purusha avatars are described in Srimad Bhagavatam. They are also described in the Satvata Tantra. Vishnu's tu Srini Rupani Purushakyani Ato Vidu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests three features as Karanadakshayi Vishnu, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, and Shirodakshayi Vishnu. In this material manifestation, the Mahavishnu or Karanadakshayi Vishnu is described in the Brahma Samhita 547. Ya Karanar Nava Jale Vajati Sma Yoga Nidram. The Supreme Lord Krishna, the cause of all causes, lies down in the cosmic ocean as Mahavishnu. Therefore, the Supreme Personality Godhead is the beginning of this universe, the maintainer of the universal manifestations, and the end of all energy. Very nice statement. Text 21. Adhyanam aham Vishnu. Jyotisam ravir amsuman. Marichaya marutam asmi. Nakshatranam aham asasi. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Of lights, I am the radiant sun. Of the Maruts, I am Marichi. And among the stars, I am the moon. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There are 12 Adityas, of which Krishna is the principal. Among all the luminaries twinkling in the sky, the sun is the chief, and in the Brahma Samhita, the sun is accepted as the glowing eye of the Supreme Lord. There are 50 varieties of wind blowing in space, and of these winds, the controlling deity, Marichi, represents Krishna. Among the stars, the moon is the most prominent at night, and thus the moon represents Krishna. It appears from this verse that the moon is one of the stars. Therefore, the stars that twinkle in the sky also reflect the light of the sun. The theory that there are many suns within the universe is not accepted by Vedic literature. The sun is one, And as by the reflection of the sun, the moon illuminates, so also do the stars. Since Bhagavad Gita indicates herein that the moon is one of the stars, the twinkling stars are not suns, but are similar to the moon. Okay, very good knowledge. Text 22. Vedanam samavedosmi, devanam asmi vasava. Indriyanam manaschasmi, bhutanam asmi chetana. Of the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. Of the demigods, I am Indra, the king of heaven. Of the senses, I am the mind. And in living beings, I am the living force or consciousness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The difference between matter and spirit is that matter has no consciousness like the living entity. Therefore, this consciousness is supreme and eternal. Consciousness cannot be produced by a combination of matter. Text 23. Rudranam samkarastasmi viteso yaksha rakshasam vasunam pavakaschasmi mero shikarinam aham. Of all the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am the Lord of Wealth, Kuvera. Of the Vasu, I am fire, Agni. And of the mountains, I am Meru. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There are 11 Rudras, of whom Sankara, Lord Shiva, is predominant. He is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord in charge of the mode of ignorance in the universe. The leader of the Yakshas and the Rakshasas is Kuvera, the master treasurer of the demigods, and he is a representation of the Supreme Lord. Meru is a mountain famed for its rich natural resources. Text 24. Purodasam cha mukyam mam vidiparta prihaspatim senai inam aham skanda sarasam asmi sagara. Of priests, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief, Brihaspati. Of generals, I am Kartikeya, and of bodies of water, I am the ocean. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Indra is the chief demigod of the heavenly planets and is known as the king of the heavens. The planet on which he resides is called Indraloka. Brihaspati is Indra's priest. And since Indra is the chief of all kings, Brihaspati is the chief of all priests. And as Indra is the chief of all kings, similarly Skanda, or Kartikeya, the son of Parvati, and Lord Shiva is the chief of all military commanders. And of all bodies of water, the ocean is the greatest. These representations of Krishna only give hints of his greatness. Text 25. Maharshinam Brigur Aham Giram Asmi Ekam Aksharam Yajnanam Japa Yajno Sme Stavaranam Himalaya. Of the great sages, I am Brigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa. And of immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Brahma, the first living creature within the universe, created several sons for the propagation of various kinds of species. Among these sons, Brigu is the most powerful sage. Of all the transcendental vibrations, the Om or Omkara represents Krishna. Of all sacrifices, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare is the purest representation of Krishna. Very wonderful statement. Sometimes animal sacrifices are recommended, but in the sacrifice of Hare Krishna, there is no question of violence. It is the simplest and the purest. Whatever is sublime in the world is a representation of Krishna. Therefore, the Himalayas, the great mountains in the world, also represent him, meaning Krishna. The mountain named Meru was mentioned in a previous verse, but Meru is sometimes movable, whereas the Himalayas are never movable. Thus, the Himalayas are greater than Meru. Text 26. Asvata sarva vrikshanam devarsinam chanarada gandharvanam chitra ratha siddhanam kapilo muni. Of all trees, I am the banyan tree, and of the sages among the demigods, I am Narada. Of the Gandharvas, I am Chitrarata, and among perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The banyan tree, or Aswata, is one of the highest and most beautiful trees, and people in India often worship it as one of their daily morning rituals. Amongst the demigods, they also worship Narada, who is considered the greatest devotee in the universe. Thus, he is the representation of Krishna as a devotee. The Gandharva planet is filled with entities who sing beautifully, and among them, the best singer is Chitrarata. Amongst the perfect living entities, Kapila, the son of Devahuti, is a representative of Krishna. He is considered an incarnation of Krishna, and his philosophy is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Later on, another Kapila became famous, but his philosophy was atheistic. Thus, there is a gulf of difference between them. Text 27. Uchais Shravasam Asvanam Vidimam Amritod Bhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Shah Naradipam. Of horses, know me to be Uchais Rava, produced during the churning of the ocean of nectar. Of lordly elephants, I am Airavata, and among men, I am the monarch. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The devotee demigods and the demons, or asuras, once took part in churning the sea. From this churning, nectar and poison were produced. And Lord Shiva drank the poison. From the nectar were produced many entities, of which there was a horse named Uchaisrava. Another animal produced from the nectar was an elephant named Airavata. Because these two animals were produced from nectar, they have special significance, and they are representatives of Krishna. Okay, so that is the the elephant and the horse. Okay, the horse and the elephant. Amongst the human beings, The king is the representative of Krishna, because Krishna is the maintainer of the universe, and the kings, who are appointed on account of their godly qualifications, are maintainers of their kingdoms. Kings like Maharaj Yudhishthira, Maharaj Parikshit, and Lord Rama were all highly righteous kings who always thought of the citizens' welfare. In Vedic literature, the king is considered to be the representative of God. In this age, however, with the corruption of the principles of religion, monarchy decayed and is now finally abolished. It is to be understood that in the past, however, people were more happy under the righteous kings. Yeah, Prabhupada has always been more, let's say, always given more it's always been more for kings rather than elected personalities.
Yeah.
Text 28. Ayudanam aham vajram de nunam asmi kamaduk prajanas shasmi kandarpa sarpanam asmi vasukri. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am the Surabi. Of causes for procreation, I am Kandarpa, the god of love, and of serpents, I am Vasuki. Purport. The thunderbolt, indeed a mighty weapon, represents Krishna's power. In Krishna Loka, in the spiritual sky, there are cows which can be milked at any time, and they give as much milk as one likes. Of course, such cows do not exist in this material world, but there is mention of them in Krishna Loka. The Lord keeps many such cows, which are called Surabi. It is stated that the Lord is engaged in herding the Surabi cows. Kandarpa is the sex desire for presenting good sons. Therefore, Kandarpa is the representative of Krishna. Sometimes sex is engaged in only for sense gratification. Such sex does not represent Krishna, but sex for the generation of good children is called Kandarpa and represents Krishna. Text 29. Anantas chasmi naganam varuno yadasam aham pitrinam aryama chasmi yama samya matam aham. Of the many hooded nagas, I am Ananta. And among the aquatics, I am the demigod Varuna. Of departed ancestors, I am Aryama. And among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, the Lord of Death. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Among the many hooded Naga serpents, Ananta is the greatest, as is the demigod Varuna among the aquatics. They both represent Krishna. There is also a planet of Pita's ancestors, presided over by Aryama, who represents Krishna. There are many living entities who give punishment to the miscreants, and among them Yama is the chief. Yama means Yamaraj. Yama is situated in a planet near the earthly planet. After death, those who are very sinful are taken there, and Yama arranges different kinds of punishments for them. Text 30. Praladas chasmi daityanam kala kala kaleyatam aham mriganam cha mrigendroham vainateyas cha paksinam vainateyas cha paksinam. Among the Daitya demons, I am the devoted Pralada. Among subduers, I am time. Among beasts, I am the lion. And among birds, I am Garuda. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Diti and Aditi are two sisters. The sons of Aditi are called Adityas, and the sons of Diti are called Daityas. All the Adityas are devotees of the Lord, and all the Daityas are atheistic. Although Prahlada was born in the family of the Daityas, he was a great devotee from his childhood. Because of his devotional service and godly nature, he is considered to be a representative of Krishna. There are many subduing principles, but time wears down all things in the material universe and so represents Krishna. Of the many animals, the lion is the most powerful and ferocious. And of the million varieties of birds, Garuda, the bearer of Lord Vishnu, is the greatest. Text 31. Of purifiers, I am the wind. Of the wielders of weapons, I am Rama. Of fishes, I am the shark. And of flowing rivers, I am the Ganges. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Of all the aquatics, the shark is one of the biggest and is certainly the most dangerous to man. Thus, the shark represents Krishna. Okay, well, we will stop right there. Our time is up. Are there any questions anyone would like to ask? Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj.
Haribol Prabhu.
Guru Maharaj is Nitya Harivilas. Guru Maharaj, my question is, Krishna is giving several lists for Arjuna to remember Krishna in different uh, vibhutis, like in opulences. But if we remember Krishna, that should be sufficient. And so, what is the need of different opulences? Like, what was the intention of Krishna here to help us?
Well, obviously, the universe is a very complicated, let's say, development that has developed over a very long time. Actually, all happens at once, but it is very complicated. Therefore, you have many different levels of, uh, let's say, uh, many different levels of uh, devotees who are in charge of different things in the universe in order to maintain it. Krishna is the supreme personality Godhead and the supreme maintainer, but he has a lot of helpers also. So, just like in a company, there might be a CEO, but he has a lot of people that are working under him. And Krishna is the CEO of everything in the material world, but he has also many subordinates that are helping him make things work properly in the universe. Krishna can make everything work by himself if he wants to, but he engages others, just like there's Brahma, there's Shiva, and so forth. He engages them for their own benefit, for their own, let's say, benefit to perform devotional service. So, therefore, what we just read was a list of many, many different people in the universe that are connected to Krishna and the uh, maintenance of the material world. Like for example, it says, of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Of lights, I am the radiant sun. Of the Maruts, I am Marichi. And among the stars, I am the moon. Of the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. Of the demigods, I am Indra, the king of heaven. Of the senses, I am the mind. And in the living beings, I am the living force or consciousness. Of all the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am the Lord of wealth, Kuvera. Of the Vasas, I am fire, Agni. And of the mountains, I am Meru. Of priests, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief, Brihaspati. Of generals, I am Kartikeya. And of bodies of water, I am the ocean. Of the great sages, I am Brigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa. And of immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Of all trees, I am the banyan tree, and of sages among the demigods, I am Narada. Of the Gandharvas, I am Chitraratha, and among perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila. Of horses, know me to be Uchais Rava, produced during the churning of the ocean of nectar. Of lordly elephants, I am Airavata, and among men, I am the monarch. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am the Shurabi. Of causes for procreation, I am Kandarpa, the god of love. And of serpents, I am Vasuki. Of the many hooded Nagas, I am Ananta. And among the aquatics, I am the demigod Varuna. Of departed ancestors, I am Aryama. And among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, the lord of death. Among the Daityas, demons, I am the devoted Prahlada. Among subduers, I am time. Among beasts, I am the lion. And among birds, I am Garuda. Of purifiers, I am the wind. Of the wielders of weapons, I am Rama. Of fishes, I am the shark. And of flowing rivers, I am the Ganges. Of all creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle. O Arjuna, of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self. And among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. Of letters, I am the letter A. And among compound words, I am the dual compound. I am also the inexhaustible time. And of creators, I am Brahma. I am all devouring death, and I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. Of hymns, in the Samaveda, I am the Brihat Sama, and of poetry, I am the Gayatri. Of months, I am Marga Sirsa, November, December, and of seasons, I am flower-bearing spring. I am also the gambling of cheats, and of the splendid, I am splendor. I am victory, I am adventure, and I am the strength of the strong. Of the descendants of Rishni, I am Vasudeva, and of the Pandavas, I am Arjuna. Of the sages, I am Vyasa, and among great thinkers, I am Usama. Among all means of suppressing lawlessness, I am punishment. And of those who seek victory, I am morality. Of secret things, I am silence. And of the wise, I am the wisdom. Furthermore, O Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existences. There is no being, moving or non moving, that can exist without me. O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. This is a real knowledge of who Krishna is. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, as it is, obviously, we have to learn from Srimad Bhagavatam who Krishna is. And now we have just read so much information about who Krishna is. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada, for giving us all this knowledge. Thank God that Lord Vishnu spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. And today we have the Bhagavad Gita, which is the greatest, first of all, the oldest book in the history of the world, and the greatest book that explains who we are and what we are meant to do in this lifetime. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna Bhagavan Ki Jai. So where did we stop? We stopped on what? Chapter 10, what verse was it?
We stopped at 31st verse, Maharaj.
Good, okay. Okay, well, thank you very much, my dear devotees. We will continue again tomorrow. We're very fortunate to hear these things. Where else can we hear all this knowledge of Krishna? Only because of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada are we able to have Bhagavad Gita as it is, not as somebody has speculated. Haribol. Thank you, my dear devotees. Have a very good evening. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.